stand by for action.
Thanks for joining me. My name is Dave Milner. I am the Unpleasant Blind Guy, and I want to welcome you to part one of this episode of the Unpleasant Blind Guy on EDL Radio. Now remember, if you want to contact me with comments, questions, show suggestions, Awesome American suggestions, I'm available at UBG Contact on Twitter, or I can also be found as Dave Milner or Aggedor, that's Aggedor, on Mublet, the Tea Party Community, Spreely, Minds, MeWe, or Gab. Now let's begin.
Fellow workers, fellow soldiers in the cause, this is a strange Christmas Eve. Almost the whole world is locked in deadly struggle, armed with the most terrible weapons which science can devise. The nations advance upon each other. Ill would it be for us this Christmas tide if we were not sure that no greed for the lands or wealth of any other people, no vulgar ambition, no morbid lust for material gain at the expense of others had led us to the field. Ill would it be for us if that were so. Here in the midst of war, raging and roaring over all the lands and seas, creeping nearer to our hearths and homes, here amid all these tumults, we have tonight the peace of the Spirit in each cottage home and in every generous heart. Therefore, we may cast aside, for this night at least, the cares and dangers which beset us, and make for the children an evening of happiness in a world of storm. Here then, for one night only, each home throughout the English-speaking world should be a brightly lighted island of happiness and peace. Let the children have their night of fun and laughter. Let the gifts of Father Christmas delight their play. Let us, grown-ups, share to the full in their unstinted pleasures. Before we turn again to the stern tasks and formidable year that lie before us, resolved that by our sacrifice and daring, these same children shall not be robbed of their inheritance or denied their right to live in a free and decent world. And so, in God's mercy, a happy Christmas to you all.
And good evening and good afternoon and welcome to the English Defence League radio show, broadcasting live on blogtalkradio.com. The English Defence League radio show, the truth and the voice of the EDL. Tonight's radio show is a special show tonight. It's EDL radio show, the year of the Patriots is the banner, with a special guest, Mr. Carmel Melamed. Mr. Melamed is a journalist, and we'll be talking a little bit more. This gentleman will be joining us about 9 o'clock our time. So, anyway, let me continue with the script. Welcome to the English Defence League radio show with your host, Jeff Holiday Mitchell, and my wingman for this evening is my helper, Dave V.K. Milner. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome a special guest, journalist Carmel Melamed. Mr. Melamed will bring his special knowledge of the Islamic Iranian regime as we span the planet in a look at 2019, the year of the Patriots. From Europe to South America to Asia and points in between, we've witnessed the rise of tormented mankind, demanding to be free. The EDL has been at the spearhead in this struggle for human rights for the past decade, and we celebrate our brave brothers and sisters from across the globe. No surrender ever. We also go on to say, we wish our American friends a happy Thanksgiving Day on the 28th of November. We will have a special encore episode for you at our regular time on that day. All that is necessary for evil to prevail is that good men do nothing. That was by the late great Edmund Burke. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. And that was by the late great President John F. Kennedy. And without further ado, let me bring in my wingman and my friend and my colleague, Dave V.K. Milner. Good evening, good afternoon, Dave.
Good evening to you, Jeff. Good afternoon to everybody in the States. Hello to everybody across the planet, and, of course, off Earth. Now, some of you may be wondering why we began the episode with Winston Churchill wishing everyone a happy Christmas, and here's the explanation. This show repeats at the Unpleasant Blind Guy page on Spreaker.com, and that, of course, runs through SHR Media. And it just so happens we're a little bit ahead with the schedule, so the first part of this episode that you're hearing right now live on blogtalkradio.com will be heard on Christmas Day at the Unpleasant Blind Guy page at Spreaker.com. So if you guys are listening on Christmas Day, I know that Jeff wishes, and I also wish you a very Merry Christmas full of peace, joy, and love. And we're going to go on now to do what I think is kind of a celebratory show. Jeff has been the inspiration for this all year long. We began 2019 having already experienced a month of the Yellow Vest protests. The anniversary of that is going to be happening again on the 1st of December. And Jeff observed that this is the year of the Patriots, with patriot movements and people protesting tyranny all across the world. And it's continued all through this year. And this is kind of a show, a little bit of a tip of a hat, and congratulations to Jeff, who saw it coming. Of course, a lot of us did as well. But we want to celebrate those people who have put feet on the street and who have put their lives and their treasure and their sacred honor at risk, and who are standing up to that tyranny. Jeff, What do you think about what has happened just over this past year, brother?
Well, to be honest with you, Dave, I could see the way that it was going to pan out in 2019. I just knew that was the way it was going to go. I mean, we've been feeling that the heat of the globalists and elitists, they are really running around with their hair alight. They really are, like the tune that we play, Land of Confusion, they really trying to get to grips of things, and it's all falling around them. It's like clutching at straws, and the straws just keep falling away. That's what we're seeing with the globalists and the elitists out there. Yes, it is crumbling. The domino effect is taking shape. And once we leave the EU, there will be a gnashing and a clashing of teeth when we go, because that will be the sinking of the Titanic. That'll be like going down. That'll be the great EU ship to be sinking. And thank goodness, unfortunately, not unlike the Titanic, there was really, really good people on board and good people. On this EU ship that will go down, there's nothing but pure and utter evil. So good riddance to bad rubbish. That's what I say. There you go, Dave. That's just surmising how I'm standing at the play now in the game of cricket. I'm watching the play as it's unfolded, Dave.
Yeah, I know, Jeff, and so have we all in this past year. And it hasn't been without a certain amount of pushback. We discussed this a little bit before the show. The state-sponsored terrorism against its own people, which we also saw in 2019 with the attack on Tommy Robinson's campaign. Actually, the attacks, more than one, but certainly the one sponsored by the state, which occurred when he was on a campaign stop running for MEP. We saw that. In the United States, we've seen Portland and Seattle and places like that, places like Berkeley, California, where police have been told to stand down and basically let Antifa take over. This uprising of people trying to throw off the shackles of the New World Order has not come without a certain amount of pushback. There's been a lot of it. And to that end, Jeff, I want to start with our first story. Now, this here takes place in Bolivia. This is going to be our first stop. We're going to go a lot of places, people. And as you guys know, there was recently a coup there to oust the socialist leader who is now living in luxury in Mexico. Okay? So there were consequences and has been pushback to this, but the people are still standing firm. And I have something here from Breitbart that was put out on the 20th that I think will shed a lot of light on what is going on in Bolivia. Are you ready for this, Jeff? This will be 6 minutes and 19 seconds. All right. Here you go, guys. You are listening to a special edition of the English Defense League radio show. Here we go.
Don't let food into the cities. Evo Morales caught on tape planning starvation in Bolivia. By Francis Martel on November 20, 2019. The conservative government of Bolivia published an audio file on Wednesday, allegedly of a conversation between a socialist activist and former President Evo Morales in which the latter ordered him to ensure that socialist rioters prevented food and basic goods from getting to the nation's cities. Morales resigned from the presidency 2 weeks ago, after 13 years in power, following the revelation of widespread fraud in the October elections he claimed had earned him another 5-year term. He then fled to Mexico and claimed to be the victim of a coup, although he voluntarily resigned, and is now demanding that the government reject his resignation and reinstate him. Dozens of members of his party, the Movement Towards Socialism, MAS, also resigned and fled the country with him, leaving the conservative deputy president of the Senate, Janine Áñez, the highest-ranking person in the line of succession in the country, Inez is now interim president and attempting to reinstate order after more than a decade of socialist rule. MAS supporters have reacted to Inez's appointment with violence, rioting and looting businesses and in some areas attempting to destroy key infrastructure sites. 6 people died on Tuesday after a mob tried to blow up a plant owned by the nation's federal oil corporation, Yacimientos Petrolíferos Fiscales Bolivianos, YPFB. The military subdued the attack but said that no soldier fired a single shot. The deaths were all self-inflicted. On Wednesday, Minister of Government, Interior Minister Arturo Murillo published audio of what he said was a call between Morales, currently in Mexico, and Faustino Ucre, a rural socialist community organizer, in which Morales demanded Ucre organize blockades around the nation's biggest cities to prevent food and basic supplies from coming in, pressuring the government to allow Morales to return to power. Ucre is a member of one of Bolivia's coca growers' unions. Coca is the plant used to develop cocaine. Morales rose to power as an advocate for coca growers and used his international prominence to promote the legalization of coca leaf. Ucre, who refers repeatedly to Morales as brother, tells Morales that the coca leaders have organized 2 blockade points to prevent goods from entering, one that has attracted 4,500 people. "You know what, brother, you don't have to have 4,500 people," Morales replies in the audio. "Divide the union into 4 or 5 groups, so it lasts longer. If you concentrate in one place, people give up. But if there are groups, they take turns. We can hold up the blockade." Murillo told reporters the call occurred 3 days ago but could not reveal how Bolivian intelligence services acquired it. He accused Morales of terrorism and crimes against humanity for helping Ucre organize violent blockades that could starve out thousands of poor Bolivians. "It is not possible for Evo to continue pitting Bolivians against Bolivians. To order food not to enter, it is a crime against humanity," Murillo stated, according to the Bolivian newspaper El Deber. On Tuesday, members of Bolivia's conservative organizations sent a letter to the socialist president of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, urging Mexico not to protect Morales in light of the organized violence committed by his supporters. The letter notably precedes Murillo's proof that Morales not only approves of the violence, but is orchestrating it. The letter accuses López Obrador, in hot water in his own country for being too lenient on violent cartels, of promoting drug trafficking that has hurt our people. Morales has for years faced accusations of being involved in cocaine trafficking, stemming not only from his public support for legalizing coca, but his ties to the Nicolás Maduro regime in Venezuela, which runs its own cocaine trafficking operation out of the military. It hurts us to see how a person who did so much harm, who promotes hate, violence, and constantly claims to speak in the representation of the poorest people, is receiving a juicy subsidy from the Mexican people and lives with extraordinary luxuries, the letter read. "We doubt that Mexicans agree with charging these expenses to the public dole, and I know we Bolivians feel this is offensive because we here are waiting for him to soon face justice here." López Obrador ensured that, upon receiving political asylum in Mexico, the government would take care of Morales' living expenses. In Bolivia, Inez's government has faced 2 weeks of violent attacks in La Paz, the executive capital, neighboring socialist stronghold El Alto, and the Cochabamba, the region where Morales is from. Rioters stormed La Paz chanting, "Here we go, civil war." Last year, and police have since arrested dozens, including Cuban, Venezuelan, and other communist regime agents, for enabling, paying for, or otherwise participating in violence. In one particularly alarming arrest, police identified a man hoarding explosives as Facundo Malera Schoenfeld, an Argentine Marxist terrorist member of the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, FARC. Authorities have also identified several death threats aimed at Inez, Bolivia's second woman president in history. Military officials who responded to the attack said 6 individuals died and another 30 were injured in the riot. At least 3 of the dead were shot, but no soldier fired on the protesters, meaning they were victims of friendly fire. In a press statement, the Bolivian military said the mob possessed high-powered explosives, which they used to try to break into the oil facility. They successfully burned several corporate vehicles at the facility. In a video published by the newspaper Páginas 7 and allegedly taken by one of the rioters, the mob can be seen placing explosives around the perimeter of the facility. Shots being fired can be heard but not seen. Now we are really going to civil war, the narrator shouts. Follow Francis Martel on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the English Defense League radio show with your host, Jeff Spider Mitchell, on this very special day. Jeff, what do you think, man?
It's the same old, isn't it? It just carries on and on, doesn't it? Civil war, all sorts of dodgy things going on in Bolivia. Has it ever changed? I think it's always been roughly like that, and it does. It's crazy, man. It's like the Wild Wild West.
Well, it is, Jeff. But what strikes me in the context of today's show is that this is what happens. It's never an easy road when people rise up against the tyrants, because they maintain themselves, the tyrants do, by buying people off who have no problem with violence or anything like that, or have no problem with starving out their fellow countrymen. I mean, that was the headline for this story. It was, keep the food out of the cities. I mean, and this from a guy, from Morales, who, as the article said, like any other lefty, always claims to speak for the poorest people and everything like that. But when it comes down to it, when it comes down to him losing his power, when it comes down to him losing his influence, he's ready to starve people out in order to get back in power. And in the meantime, Jeff, he's living in Mexico in luxury, I'm sure. And what a lot of people don't understand about Mexico is that a good number of the Mexican people live in shacks with dirt floors. And yet this sleazeball from another country being guested by the president of Mexico and the Mexican government is living the life. He's living the life of Riley on the backs of the poor people of Mexico. So once again, you see a lefty who is taking advantage of all of that, and the whole time planning to get back into power by sponsoring attacks, businesses being attacked and blown up, burned, and things of that nature, and starving people out. And this just, Jeff, I have to say, man, this just makes me more and more respectful of the people who stand up against that kind of tyranny, because it's not easy. It's never easy. It's more than just being called a bad name on Twitter. Yeah, brother. It's more than just being called a bad name on Twitter.
The freedom has never been easy. There's always been the blood-stained floors to show that is the case. Freedom, democracy, it has to be hard fought. And as I say, bloodshed and sacrifice is what has to be paid. It's sad to say that, but that is what democracy and freedom is all about, and liberty is what you had to hard fight for. And once again, where we see different parts of the world in that position, and it never, one year it might be a little bit different from another, but it just goes on in the same never-ending circle of whatever you want to call it. It just goes on. We'd like to see a total finish to what's going on, and people, their lives being sacrificed, fighting for what's right, fighting for their children, fighting for the rights of the people. But as you say, Dave, it's a very high toll that people have had to fall. I mean, you've only got to look at first, second, two world wars, people sacrificing their life for freedom and that. It's what people do. If you love freedom and you love democracy, you're going to fight to defend it, aren't you, whatever the cost. And we've seen that, haven't we? We've seen millions and millions of people, soldiers and just normal people, die for it. But yeah, Dave, it's always a never-ending story. But we'd like to see some goodness come out of the sacrifice of the people, because it does. Sometimes it's got to take sacrifice before when you've actually achieved what you wanted. There's someone that once said you can never just say, oh, it's all over now. No, it's not. You're always going to be watching behind you because of I can't remember. It was someone very famous who said it. It might be one of your presidents that even said it, or maybe one of my prime ministers has said it. But it's something that we must hold dear with when we get our freedom, things like that our ancestors fought for. We must hold it firmly, but never don't just get complacent with what you have, because it can be taken away so quickly. What we're seeing in the UK now, we're seeing that. Dave, yeah, I've gone on a little bit of a tangent, like I normally do.
Well, Jeff,
but I had to say some things there.
Well, of course, this is your show. You're the captain of the ship, and I was just, you brought up the UK, of course, and the people in the UK who are standing up against the tyrannical government there are suffering as well. I mean, we never fail to mention Melanie Shaw, who is in prison right now in just terrible conditions, and several people from the EDL who have been put in prison, not to mention those that have been assaulted, hurt badly, and things of that nature. People who have been rousted out of their homes at the wee hours of the morning just to go down to the police station and have a conversation about nothing. People who have had their computers and phones taken away because of the government's distaste for the truth and things of that nature. I mean, it all comes home, Jeff, and it takes a special kind of person with the grace of God to stand up for the right when things like this occur. Am I right, brother?
It's called oppression. I think that a lot of us are suffering. We're seeing people like Tommy Robinson are suffering oppression with standing up and doing the right thing and speaking out about what's going on. You're oppressed, you're suppressed, whatever you want to call it, and you're victimised, you're persecuted by the state persecution. And when you go to court and you look at the judge, and you know that judge is going to find you guilty simply because he's told to.
And that is it for this time. Next time, part 2. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for listening, and may your God go with you. Goodbye.
The Unpleasant Blind Guy is copyright 2019. Anno Domini. Now for Dave's Canes. Extras that help you navigate the new media world.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.